Stay tuned, everybody, because it's time for the Playin on Music Row podcast with your host, Fran. Heard each week on this station. And now, here's Fran.
Well, welcome, everybody. Today, we're here with country artist Sonny Morgan with some very interesting stories. We're really pleased that Sonny came to be playing on Music Row with us today. He's been very busy. We're able to get our schedules worked out, and now here he is today. So welcome, Sonny.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm glad to be here. I'm glad we were able to communicate. We haven't been here lately, so I still haven't figured out why we can't get our emails functioning right.
Yeah,
But
well,
anyway,
we worked it out. We
yes,
found
we
a
did.
way. That's
Yes,
what
we
I
did.
do. When can you tell us, like, when did you first begin performing your music?
Well, I started performing, I guess probably in 2014, 15, somewhere right in there, just in some of the little hole in the walls and little places in North Austin, actually Leander, Cedar Park, Round Rock, those places which are north of Austin. And I kind of do it in disguise because I had a full-time job and I really didn't want everybody to know what I was doing. So it was kind of fun. And the cool part about it is I started building a little small group of fans that would come on the certain nights that I would be singing. And to this day, I still have those fans that I sing to, literally in some of these little pool. Literally, it was a smoky pool rooms. A lot of them were pool rooms. That right there, stuck in the back of the corner, was a little corner with some speakers and a microphone. That kind of thing.
Sure.
And that's kind of where it started. That's where it started with me. Although, from a standpoint of singing, I'm sure you probably heard the story a million times, but Mama got me singing in the church choir, and when I was a little kid, and that's where I got my singing background, I guess. And then she, back when I was 10 years old, this little elementary school I went to had a guy that came through and said, "Look, I want to start a little band in this school." And so I picked up a trumpet, and that's where I learned to read music. And I played trumpet all through my elementary, junior high, and high school years. And that's where I got the musical background. And then in church, back when I was in high school, a little First Baptist church downtown Dallas, and they had this magnificent choir, and the choir director at that time, Leroy Till was his name, took a liking to me and said, "You had a really good voice, and we're going to use you to, and I'm going to spend a lot of time with you because we want you to sing at these Christmas galas that they had." And they had these singing Christmas trees, and they were like, the First Baptist Church was huge,
Yes.
and it had these big, tall ceilings in them, and they had these Christmas trees on both sides of the pulpit. And I'd crawl up they had these ladders, you'd go up and crawl in the Christmas tree, and you were a Christmas ornament that would sing.
Yes.
Basically what it was. And that was where pretty much that was where I got indoctrinated really into learning how to sing. And it just was one of those things I just liked to do. It made me feel great when I did. So that happened. And of course, the story I told you earlier, and I'll tell you again, but basically, I sold cars to a lot of the stars, which, I think the good Lord was trying to tell me something when back in the 80s, I was selling Willie Nelson cars and Charlie Pride cars. And I even sold the guy, Johnny Taylor. I don't know if you remember him or not.
No.
He did Shake It Up, Shake It In, Shake It Out, Disco Lady. Remember that song?
Oh, yeah, sure.
I sold him cars, and it was a lot of musicians that I sold, artists that I sold, big artists at the time. And it's one of those things that I kept, I keep thinking to myself, there was some kind of message that was coming to me somewhere back then even. And of course, back as I got older, I started selling a lot more artists, and of course George Strait, and met Ray Benson was kind of a weird way I met him. There was a lady by the name of Kat Edmondson who was a bar singer that I met when I first moved to Austin. And I told her, I said, you're so good. Why don't you try to do something different than singing in a bar? I think you can make more than $50 a night. So anyway, she introduced me to Ray Benson. Ray Benson knew her, and the next thing I know, she's going to New York singing up there. And before she did that, she came to my car dealership and sang with Ray when I built a little stage. We had a little party for our customers. You got to remember, when you're selling Bentley, Rolls Royces, and Aston Martins and Lotus, you're going to have a high end customer there. So you spend a lot of money doing a lot of these things. So I had Ray Benson and Kat Edmondson come up and sing for some customers, and I had a catered dinner, 5-course dinner there, and wine pairings and all that stuff on the showroom. Well, I sat down and talked to Ray for till 1 o'clock at night after the thing was over, and we had a lot in common. I mean, it's kind of weird, some of the things we had in common, and so we built a friendship there, and so I knew that he was doing a show in a little town called Albert, Texas. And Albert is supposedly the oldest dance hall in Texas. And it's, I think the population of Albert, Texas is 10, but when the dance hall's up, it's probably 3,000. So anyway, I called him up and I said, I know you're doing this show. Why don't I pick you up in a Bentley instead of you driving in the tour bus? And let's talk. So we talked, and I told him a little bit about what I was planning on doing. And I had hired a voice coach, and you're going to hear my dog every once in a while. But anyway, he said, well, what do you want to do with it? And I said, well, I'm not really sure. And I said, I've gone and done some recordings I recorded 7 cover songs at a recording studio here in Austin, but I don't really know what I want to do. So I took him to the show, and about halfway or so through the show, Sonny Morgan comes to stage. So I go up there. I thought he was wanting me to get the car ready for him to go. And I can remember one concert I went to at a little small venue there in Austin that old Charlie Daniels played there. And he had a show in San Antonio or someplace. And man, I tell you, when he sang that last note, he was about 3/4 off the stage, headed to his tour bus. So I thought maybe that was what Ray was wanting to do. So he said, he leaned over from the stage and says, you know our songs? And I said, yeah, I know your songs. He said, get up here and sing with us. And so I think On the Road Again was one of the songs he was singing, and I started harmonizing with him. And he leaned over to me, put his hand over Mike, and says, you're freaking good, man. You just need to do it. You don't need to even think about it anymore. So that was literally, if you want to call it that, the boot that kicked me over the fence to make this happen. And so from then, I sent those 7 cover songs to a person that I knew of in Nashville, an agent there. And I said, I sent him a note, and I said, I'm sending you these songs. Emailed it to him, and I said, the little quote was, day job or not, so keep my day job or
Yeah.
do this. And so he called me back about an hour and a half later and said, when can you come up? And so my wife and I got on an airplane and flew up to Nashville, spent the weekend with he and his wife. And we were supposed to meet with Daryl Singletary that Monday. And of course, that Sunday night, he died before we had a chance to meet with him. But I think the game plan was to maybe have me tour with him and do some backup singing, and maybe give Daryl a little break and kind of let me sing some of my songs while he took a break, is what kind of the game plan was. But it never came about, which was, it broke all of our hearts, and still have a heavy heart for him. As a matter of fact, this 4th album that I've just finished up in Nashville hadn't come out yet, but it's finished. I know it is because I talked to Buddy yesterday. Anyway, it's It's got one of Daryl's songs in it. I just had to put it in there. So Amen kind of loves the name of the song. It's a great song.
Okay.
But anyway, that's kind of the long and the short of it. I mean, I've had some other things that have come around and all, but how I got songwriters was a great story too. I mean, when you say, okay, I'm going to start out singing, I'm going to start singing professionally. You either write your own songs, and I started writing songs, and I would present them to my producer and my agent, and they'd say, I think you need to work a little bit harder on these than you have. And so I was at a BMI party, where the BMI studios are.
Yes. Yeah.
And right there, kind of off of Music Row. And anyway, I was at a BMI party. It was an album release party. And we walked in, and I didn't know a lot of people there, but walked in. There was an empty chair. And there was a guy sitting next to me to it. I said, "Is this chair taken?" He said, "It's yours." And we started talking. Next thing I know, I found out that I said, "What do you have to do with all this?" And he said, "Well, I wrote a lot of the songs, and I played keyboards on all of them." And I said, any songs I'd recognize too?" And he said, "Well, I'm Your Puppet. I wrote that." And he said, "I collaborated with he leaned off a lot of Aretha Franklin songs." And he said, "I played keyboards for Aretha, and I toured with Neil Young for 21 years. And I said, "What is your name?" He goes, "Spooner Odom." And I said, "Spooner Odom." I said, "Man, I tell you, that name rings a bell, but, I'm probably just trying to think about, people's names." And about that time, my agent walks up and he goes, "You know who you're talking to?" And I said, "Yeah, his name's Spooner." And he says, "He's the holy grail of songwriters." So I asked Spooner, I said, "You don't have any country songs you've written?" And I said, "I know it's most of those that you named off are contemporary songs." I said, "Do you have any country songs?" He said, "I wrote about 30 with my two cousins and a guy named Carl Holder and Mark Namore." And by the way, Mark Namore wrote for Shenandoah. He wrote Moon Over Georgia. And he said, "I'll get Mark to send them to you." Well, about a week later, here comes these emails flying with all these songs in it. And the first album that I did has quite a few of those songs on it, because that was what I had. That was my resource. I had another resource, and it was kind of a weird one, but I had been in a car wreck, and this massage therapist or therapist that was working on me, trying to get my back to working again, I asked her, she said, "What do you do?" And I said, "Well, I'm in the car business, but I'm fixing to go into the music business." Told her what I was doing. I said, "You don't know anybody that's a songwriter or that does any kind of writing?" She said, "Well, my best friend is a lady that writes songs. I'll see if I can get a hold of it." Well, she sent me one song of hers, and I recorded that one. So the way I started was just by asking people, "You don't happen to write songs, do you?" And that's how it kind of started with me. And now my team of songwriters and myself in Nashville are actually he's got an office in Nashville, but in Muscle Shoals, man, I've got so many songs that they've written for me, just for me. And I told them yesterday, I said, "You're my Dean Dillon of Sonny Morgan," that kind of thing. And I look at that, because if it weren't for Dean Dillon, old George Strait would probably be sweeping floors somewhere. But it's one of those things that it's the songwriters and the songs that make or break you. And it's me realizing that early on, and I guess probably from knowing George and Ray and all those, and talking to them. And I learned a lot in the 10 or 12 years that I sold cars to George Strait, just in his business model. His business model is probably the best in the industry. And the way he handles his business, the way he does his business, the way he handles his money, the way he does everything, and he does it right. I mean, he does it right. And man, I tell you, he was a great influence on me. His music was a great influence on me, because I like his voice, I like his style, and I think that it will last forever. I mean, I don't see that George Strait type of music is ever going to ever go away, even though we're seeing a lot of the stuff out there right now that is a little bit off off key a little bit for me. I kind of stick to the traditional. I'm kind of I'm not I'm kind of just me. My music is just me. That's how we look at it. And I've got my own style. I write my own kind of stuff, and it's if you've listened to it, I know you have, and it's just it's different than most. Put it that way. And I've got a lot of loyal fans that like that kind of music, and it's a shame I'm not 30, 40 years younger, because I might be a little hotter than I am right now. Just you try to pass that 50 age barrier, and things start getting a little harder to sell.
Yeah, that's what they say here. But yeah, no, I mean, we're going to be listening to them. I'm going to get ready to play one of your songs. You have a song that was titled "Till I'm Over You." Can you give us like a little background of that? Not too much, but just a little bit of background before we play it.
That song was written by Carl Holder, Spooner Odom, and Mark Namor, and it was a song. I sat down and I told him, I said, I want something that we started talking about relationships that you build as you're you fall in love with a girl, all that kind of good stuff. I lost something here.
Yeah.
Oh, there it is.
Gotcha.
And you fall in love with a girl and things fall out, and they don't work, and yada da da da, but you still have feelings for them and all. And they said, let's start thinking about it. And so we bounced back and forth with that one, and it turned out, I mean, Till I'm Over You it's a great story. And the songs that I sing, a lot of them, most all of them, are great storytelling songs. It's just not bebop, and you do the song. It's I basically are storytellers, and these guys are great lyricists, I guess you call them. So, let's listen to it.
That's what they say. Say lyric is king. Let's take a listen to Sonny Morgan and Till I'm Over You.
I saw that goodbye look in your eyes, heard your voice say, we're through. I know I was wrong, but the hurt from you's so strong. I don't know what I'm gonna do. I know it might sound crazy, but could I come home, baby, if only for a night or two? I won't try to control you, just let me hold you until I'm over you. Darling, what's the harm of laying in your arms only till the pain is through? No one else could start to halfway heal this heart and kiss away all my blues. You know what moves me, and everything that soothes me, you know just what to do. So love me just like you still love me, like we had something, till I'm over you. if that's a miracle, girl, you fall back in love. I'll do all I can, make all your dreams come true. I'd fall right back down on my knees, 'cause then I wouldn't need to ever get over you. I don't ever want to get over you. Just hold me till I'm over you. That
Gotta
makes
make
me
sure we
cry.
get that last note in there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that'll make
Hey,
me cry.
yeah, that's great. Now, how
About the band.
now that we heard you, but how would you describe your sound, or has others told you maybe an idea of how your what you sound like?
Well, I really have not heard of anybody saying I sound like somebody. The only one that has told me I sound like have you heard John Deere Steering Wheel? Have you heard that
Oh,
song?
John Deere
John
Green?
Deere, John Deere
Steering wheel.
Steering.
No, I haven't heard that one now.
That's my biggest hit. As a matter of
Okay.
fact, it's on the Nashville Top 40 at number 36 with all the big boys, Keith
Well, that's
Urban,
great.
and somebody told me that it sounded a little bit like the Fabulous Thunderbirds, the guy that sang in that.
Oh,
But
yeah, okay.
I haven't really had anybody say, "Oh, you sound like so and so." I don't, and maybe do you hear anything from? Did you hear anybody that sound like that?
No, not so. Sometimes I do, but
Yeah.
I didn't. So I was just wondering. Okay, well, let me ask this question. You have another song that you released, which is called Coffee Cup Circles.
Yeah.
Coffee Cup Circles. Coffee Cup. Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe give us a little background
Yeah.
on that, because we're gonna play that too.
Well, Mark Namor wrote that, and it was out of a conversation we had. We'd sit just like you and I. We do this FaceTime thing, and we talk and talk and talk about on songs. And I got in one of those modes where I wanted to write some. Till I'm over you is kind of one of those too. It's somebody knew somebody, fell in love with them. Then next thing they wanted to build up enough courage to ask him to marry him, and never could get the stuff up to do it. So
Right.
he let her slip right through his fingers, and that's kind of what Coffee Cup Circles. It's about a guy that was sitting there, feeling sorry for himself. Basically, is what it boils down to.
Okay.
And at the very end, he let her slip. That's how that happened. And nothing was left but a coffee cup circle on a piece of paper. He's going to write her a nice little letter, and he couldn't ever get up the nerve to do it. So that was kind of the deal. And that one we went back and forth over quite a while. That took a while for us to get that one where we felt really comfortable about it. Because a lot of these songs, like I told you earlier, I've got to get my head into it and wrap my arms around it and feel good about it. And when I sing one of these, it sounds kind of silly, but I become the song. I become the person. And there's songs that I have tried to sing and I can't, because I choke up. I can't sing them. I tell you this, the worst song that I've ever tried to sing is Bobby Goldsboro's Honey. I cannot sing that song without choking up. And I don't know what it is. George Strait's got a song. What's that song, Karen? That it's about a gal that husband left her a note, and she decided that she wanted to forget about him and make herself completely over, and she let herself go. That's the name of it. And I can't get through that one without choking up. There's just some songs that happens. This was one that I thought was going to happen that way, and I finally got through it all. But I love the song. I mean, it's a great one.
Okay,
You're hitting songs. You're hitting some really some songs that I thought were going to be real big hits that that really and truly some of the ones that I didn't think were going to make it were the ones that did hit, and the ones that, it's always that way.
We talk about that a lot down here. Well,
Yeah,
let's take a listen to Coffee
yeah.
Cup Circles. Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Coffee cup circles on an old notepad, scratching down lines on a song I had. Gonna keep the good ones, erase the bad. Coffee cup circles on an old notepad. Words keep pouring from my heart and soul. One day I might hear them on the radio, or those feelings might lay right where they're at, with the coffee cup circles on an old notepad. I get out of bed when I can't sleep, of the feelings for you still run deep. There's a few that always make me sad. Caffeine's keeping me awake, I know. Gotta stay up till my story's told. The one about the storybook, the love we had. Coffee cup circles on an old notepad. Teardrop stains in the middle of the page, between the first verse and that old refrain. The second verse talks about a second chance. Coffee cup circles on an old notepad. I fold it up and mail it in an envelope. Those words will sure hit home, I hope, and you'll see how strong it was, the love we had. Gonna lay this guitar at my feet, 'cause now my story is complete. I'll make it rhyme this time, so maybe you'll come back. Coffee cup circles on an old notepad. Those circles make me think of a wedding ring that stands for a life of love and dreams. Never did get around to giving you that. So now there's coffee cup circles on an old notepad.
Very, very nice. Who are some of the players on your promotional team?
Well, Brent Mason has played on 30 songs I've recorded so far.
Mhm.
Steve Henson, steel guitar. Brent Mason, guitar player. You know who he is, I'm
Yeah,
sure.
sure.
Steve Henson, steel guitar. He was Loretta Lynn's steel guitar player. Michael Lusk is my backup singer, and he's so talented that you'll think that there's more than one person. The only other backup singer I had was a lady there in Nashville that sings with the National Symphony Orchestra that did one of my songs, and she was a backup singer on one of them. Let's see here. We got Buddy Hyatt, who's a keyboard player, and he's my producer.
I know,
Yeah. Spivey was the
fiddle player.
and let's see here. I'm trying to think all the guys. Gosh, Lonnie Wilson is a drummer. Of course, he's been on all of them. He went to work for Old George there for a while, then at Sleep or Ace the Whole Band, and just some great musicians that know my style. And of course, Buddy, he and I become like attached to the hip when we have songs. Matter of fact, there's this new album I got cut. He sent me 3 of the cuts he's finished with. He sent those to me night before last, and I just about went crazy over them. They're the best I think I've ever done. And I guess as I get older, I get better. I don't know. Maybe it's like
Yeah.
wine.
Yeah.
At least everybody that I played the songs for, they say this is your best stuff, and I'm hoping so. I'm hoping that there's a couple on there that there's some there's one song that's up for or song of the year with the International Singers and Songwriters Association. It's called Handwritten. It's written by Valerie Wilson and Lori Lovelace out of Muscle Shoals, and it's such a good song, such a good song. And it's just there's some stuff that I wish our emails would work because I'd send it to you, but maybe I can text it to you. I don't know, maybe that'll work. But yeah, fourth album. I don't know. I've been wanting to do a gospel album. I've been wanting to do a Christmas album. I haven't got around to doing it over Christmas. This album is about 4 months late. It should have come out in January, but during December, one of my gigs that I was playing at, somehow I picked up pneumonia, and I had pneumonia for 10 weeks. So that kind of put a shot in trying to sing because you just can't do anything with your old lungs all screwed up. So
That's true.
anyway, I finally got off of that. And of course, I had to cancel. I think there was about 20 shows that I was going to be doing, and I had to cancel those. So, it's just one of those things that happened, and I don't wish it on anybody. And a doc, I asked him, I said, how could I have prevented it? And he said, you probably wore yourself down to your resistance got low, and that's probably what happened. Because it was during Christmas in December when I was doing these Christmas shows, and I was doing one every day. It seemed like every day I was doing a Christmas show somewhere. And it's basically you do 3 or 4 regular conventional songs, and then you do 3 or 4 Christmas songs, that kind of thing, at Christmas parties and things like that. And I think that's what did it. I think I was in Fort Worth doing a show there, and I think that's where I picked it up. But it is what it is. It's over with now. But I've got a real good. You asked about the band and all that, but I've got to also give credit to my voice coach there in Nashville. Her name's Kim Sadowski. I don't know if you've ever heard of Kim or not.
No,
but she probably made the biggest difference in my voice than anything that I could ever done. And I took some real good. Her claim to fame is she's discovered Beyonce. She voice coached Chesney and Paisley and Alan Jackson and all those guys. And I asked around, and everybody that I talked to there in Nashville, I said, who's the best voice coach? And they told me Kim was. And I called her up, and sure enough, she had me doing things I never thought I could ever do in my voice. Tell Them Over You, I couldn't have recorded that song if I hadn't had her. I mean, there's some notes in there that and holding some of those high ones and all that stuff. Couldn't have done any of that. But, and I wouldn't have known how to do it, that kind of thing. But, there's some stuff she taught me that I'm so grateful to her from, just teaching me the tricks, that kind of thing. Okay. And I think, if you listen to these guys that are up there, I'm from a standpoint, you probably have figured out, I'm more of a fan of the Jackson, Strait, Paisley, those guys. Those are the guys that I'm a fan of. I'm not mostly a fan of some of the stuff that's, I was watching the CMTs last night, no disrespect, but I couldn't get a country song out of Kane Brown. I could not figure out why he was up there doing that stuff. Why is he in the country business? I mean, that's just kind of the way I feel about it. He's got a good voice, but he ought to be doing some bebop or something. I'm not sure exactly where he fits, but it doesn't fit to me in where that genre is. And now Blake Shelton, he sounds pretty good. And I got a story behind him if you want to hear one real quick. If it's
real quick.
Yeah. Sure. Well, he 22, 23, 24 years ago now, I was a Ford dealer, and we had some money in our advertising fund. We wanted to try to get somebody to come down and sing for us. And so we hired Blake Shelton to come down and sing for us. And this was before he came out with his first album. And so he sang a song called Austin, and it blew me away. I sing it. I sing it to this day. But everybody in the room kind of went flat on it. And he goes, "What's wrong with this group?" And I said, "It's just a bunch of, it was all the Southwest region Ford dealers." I said, "Just a bunch of car dealers here. They don't know good music." I said, "Don't worry about it." He said, "Well, I've got this album fixed to come out." He gave me one of his prototype albums that it didn't have all the stuff on the front of it, like featuring this and all that other stuff. The Austin, the first, and he signed it and got in his old Ford pickup and drove back to Oklahoma. But he told me, he says that was when he had the mullet, and his hair was so greasy that the top of his shirt, you had grease stains on it. And, old pimple faced, blue eyed guy, good looking kid. I mean, he was young, very young. He was probably in his 20s. And but I'd like to one of these days run into him and reminisce a little bit about him sitting there eating a sandwich with me at lunch. It was kind of fun. But
Yeah, those are great stories.
yeah.
I have stories about that. One of the other artists that you mentioned, I have a story about that too. I'll tell you offline. Let me ask this question, because you're talking about touring and stuff and doing shows. How can people find out more about Sonny Morgan?
Well, I have a website, sonnymorganmusic.com. I'm on Facebook, and I've got Facebook as Sonny Morgan Music is my Facebook page for my music business, but I also have Sonny Morgan, just Sonny Morgan the person, on Facebook as well.
Mhm.
And they really want to, if they're really big fans of mine, I've got this kind of private little fans of Sonny Morgan Facebook page that you have to be invited to get into. So that's probably the easiest. I'm on Spotify. I'm Pandora. I've got 2 Pandora stations. If you want to hear some great music on Pandora, go to It's a Beautiful World Radio. That's me. And it's kind of it was kind of my deal to Daryl Singletary, because he wrote that song. And also, like I said, Spotify. I really would love people to follow me. I'd like to have more followers on that. All the electronic media. I'm on Instagram, Twitter, all those things. And you just type in Sonny Morgan, it'll pull it up. You'll see, you might find a reggae singer by the name of Sonny Morgan. That's not me.
Okay.
Do not have the dreadlocks.
You don't quite look like that. No.
No.
Okay. Mrs. I've asked you a lot of questions, but is there anything that you'd want to say to the listening audience that maybe I haven't asked you?
Well, the thing about it is, more so than anything, is I love fans, and I love people that like my music, and I'd love for them to hear. I love for my music to get out there. I know there's a lot of ears out there. I've called them ears because there's a lot of ears that haven't heard my songs. And the thing about it is that it's always great to pick up another set of ears that like my music. And the only way that I can get that word out there is interviews like we're having right now. I did, what's great is this chart that I'm on in Nashville. It's the top 40. I can't remember the name of it now, but I know you know it. But this Morgan Wallen or whatever his name is, he's number 1, and I think Carly Pierce, and then it's Keith Urban and Blake Shelton and Carrie Underwood are all on there in the top 40, and I'm number 36 on it. So, there's something good about it. Some people are starting to learn who I am. It just takes a long time to get all those ears listening, and especially if you don't have a record company that's promoting you and putting you on a Pepsi bottle and all that other kind of stuff. You just I don't have that. So the only way that I'm going to be successful is to have interviews like I'm having now, and for people to say, "Hey, did you hear this?" And I've been putting my music has been played in 72 countries, which I'm very proud of. I've got a huge following in Europe, Norway, Sweden, France, Switzerland, all of the UK. I've got a huge following over there. I've got a huge following in Tasmania and Australia and New Zealand. I'm big fans over there and all. But and it's been great because all of a sudden some of the Nashville radio stations are starting to play my songs, and mostly John Deere Steering Wheel. But you got to hear that song. It's a funny one. It's we wanted a song when we wrote that was a kind of a boot scooting boogie type line dance. People come. What I felt in my head was, why don't we get a choreographer to do a complete line dance just to that song, a John Deere Steering Wheel line dance? And I still hadn't been able to find a choreographer that doesn't want an arm and a leg to do that. And but John Deere Steering Wheel that's the number 36 song on the top 40 chart out of Nashville, and it's a good one. It's a mover. It moves fast. It's got a lot of beat to it, and it's a story about a guy who his girlfriend got her a John Deere tractor, and all she wants to do is ride on it all the time. She doesn't want to be with him. And so what he does is he wishes he was a John Deere Steering Wheel, so she would hold him all the time. That's the story behind it. So it's a cute little story, but it's a great song and it's got a lot of movement in it. And when you listen to it, you'll see what I'm talking about. It's made for a dance hall. Matter of fact, when I do my shows, I have people. I don't like dance hall type stuff where people dance. What I like is people sit down and listen to me. And I don't like restaurants where they're sitting there slopping food and not watching me. So, it's more of these sit down venues that I perform at. And, but, the thing about it is, everybody has their quirks. I have this thing about guys getting spaghetti all over his face and not paying any attention. So anyway, that's just me. And so, but, the thing is that this song, whenever it's played, I see people get up in the aisles and start dancing. There were some gals that the last time I sang that song to the show, there was about 4 or 5 gals that went down kind of close to the stage and started doing this line dance, and it started getting everybody all cranked up about it. So I know it's there. I just got to get somebody that wants to choreograph the thing, and I like to try to get some dance school people that just want to be in a video, that kind of thing to do it. Okay. So if you're out there, if you're listening to this, give me a call or find me on SonnyMorganMusic.com. Let's talk.
Yeah, and look up John Deere's Steering Wheel. Okay, well, I'll tell you, Sonny, everyone here at the Nashville Broadcasting Network wants to thank you for taking the time to speak with us. We really appreciate that.
Well, I appreciate you having me. Good gosh, appreciate it very much.
Oh, you're quite welcome. So thank you so very much.
Yeah, you bet. My pleasure.
Okay.